KC's been listening to his boy, Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo, and they had the Sacramento Kings ranked as the second worst situation in the NBA. I'm assuming, and I'm going to ask you to provide a little bit
Real quick, I wrote that wrong. Second worst situation in the Western Conference. They split up the conferences and ranked them that way.
Okay.
But they're bottom 5 in the NBA.
Okay. Well, that changes my question then.
Well, tell me your question.
Well, I assumed Utah was the worst, but no.
Phoenix was probably the worst.
That's fair.
Phoenix and Brooklyn were number one Phoenix, and they didn't agree on the other one. Bill said Chicago was the worst in the East.
Okay. Can you provide some context to this? Because worst situation doesn't mean the worst team.
Yeah, it's like kind of your assets, your roster, your assets moving forward, draft picks, things like that. So you look at somebody like Phoenix, and not only is their roster looking bad, they don't own their own picks. They're a second apron team right now. Like they're fine. All three of those components, the way I look at it, roster, assets, cap situation, they're an F in all three. Like their roster's awful. They don't have any draft picks moving forward. In their cap situation, they're a second apron team. Like that's what you're kind of looking for. So you look at somebody like Utah, so to speak. Utah's roster is not good, but their cap situation ain't that bad, and they have a lot of future picks. You know what I mean? So they're in the bottom half, but that may not be why they're the worst. You know what I mean? Because you could look at Lauri Markkanen and hell, Ace Bailey, if you wanted to combine that with somebody and go trade for somebody. Phoenix can't even do that. And then you look at Sacramento. Sacramento, they don't really have that either. It's kind of hard to argue against them being one of the worst roster situations in the league because your cap situation is teetering a little bit. You don't really have tradable pieces when you talk about Zach LaVine. I say DeMar DeRozan. I also say Domantas Sabonis. And the roster, while talented, nobody really understands what the roster is or where it's going. It's directionless in a lot of people's mind. So them being looked at as one of the worst situation, they map this out for like over the next 5 years. Like, you know, your roster situation, your team flexibility over the next 5 years or so. Hell, James said they got to wait till like 27 to start thinking about doing stuff. Or potentially that may be their mindset. So I think it's a fair assessment of the Kings and their situation. If you're comparing it to other situations around the league, yeah, they're probably in the bottom 5, bottom 10 of the entire league. They had Brooklyn in there. They had Washington. They had New Orleans. Obviously Phoenix, Utah, Chicago. Chicago's an interesting one because it's like, what is Chicago doing? They don't even really have a lot of picks.
Hit you with the Jordan shrug.
They don't have a lot of assets.
I mean, that's the question you can ask about Sacramento.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's fair. Like, I don't know. I don't know what Chicago is doing.
Yeah. So it's
no idea.
Do you, if I said, let's combine the whole league. I mean, because obviously you're bottom 5. If you're 2 in the West, and you could just say at least 2 others in the East, would you say the Kings have a bottom 5 roster team building situation in the
NBA? Phoenix is pretty damn bad, man.
Phoenix is the worst to me.
Phoenix is bad.
Phoenix no hope.
Man, this is tough because Phoenix, obviously, because it's so bad, you know, their like situations, their caps, their money. I don't like. Again, bad situation versus bad team. Is Charlotte where's Charlotte in this conversation?
So Charlotte's probably there.
I don't know where Utah
but you've got a Brandon Miller, you've got a LaMelo that you could.
But what's Brandon Miller?
He's a good young player.
He is.
He's a good young player, and it's going into his 3rd year.
I think Keegan's a good young player.
Yeah, I think Brandon Miller is way better than Keegan as a prospect and as a young player. I think they're on different tiers.
Different tiers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
New
Orleans?
New Orleans is shaky. Now they have players.
By the way, the answer is probably yes. Now I'm like looking at these teams like,
New Orleans.
Philly at least got Maxey.
Philly got Maxey.
I don't know what you do with those other two. Yeah.
You got VJ.
Yeah.
New Orleans, I think Russillo said it kind of perfectly because he didn't like Utah's roster. He looked at the Jazz roster. It's like they don't really have no real assets, but they got a lot of picks and future picks and things of that nature. And he looked at New Orleans. He's like, they don't really have a lot of picks, but they got a lot of assets on the roster. Like you can move Zion, Troy Murphy, Herb Jones, guys like that. You can move guys like that and either acquire picks or acquire players if you need to. So he was like, I wish New Orleans has the right roster. Utah has the right draft assets. If you combine them, they'd be in a super situation.
Mm-hmm.
But they, that's their thing. But I think New
Danny
Orleans,
Ainge and Daryl Morey joined forces.
It's even worse. Danny Ainge and Joe Dumars.
Oh, New Orleans, yeah, New Orleans, yeah. Oh,
and James Jones.
James
Jones
took the league
NBA.
job. Yeah, he took the league job.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not doing anything here anyways. Get my ass out of here.
So, I think I would say Phoenix is worse. I'd probably say Chicago's a little worse.
So you disagree with me about New Orleans?
Yeah, because they got Zion. Zion and like if you ever really wanted to blow it up.
But what do you do though? Like does someone do that?
Does
someone take Zion?
Yeah, I think somebody still takes it. Hell, we talked about taking
Zion. No, I mean, you ain't got to tell me. But Zion plays 35 games this year. That's a specific hypothetical, obviously.
Well, that might change some things for sure. Okay. That might change some things for sure. Okay. But just today, as is, he's a better asset than anything the Kings have on their roster.
All right.
And you got Fears as a rookie. He's looked at as somebody that you like. I like Jordan Poole still too. A lot of people don't like his contract, but we talked about Jordan Poole and how much I kind of like his game still.
Zion's games played since his rookie year. His rookie year was 24, second year was 61, 29 year 370, year 4, and then 30 last season. He's off and on.
But I'll ask you this. They're both on the open market right now. Who nets you a bigger return, Zion or Zach LaVine?
Oh, Zion.
Zion or Domantas Sabonis?
Zion.
Zion could play one game next year, and I think he'd net you a bigger return than either one of those guys.
He's the ultimate what-if guy.
Yeah. Well, he's the ultimate. I think he's the ultimate we can fix it guy. Like, I don't think anyone thinks they can fix Zach LaVine. I mean, Domas, at this point, you know what you're acquiring with Domas. Very good basketball player, but you're acquiring something very, very specific. Zion's one of those guys who someone would say in the meeting, bro, we got the best medical staff in the NBA. He ain't been with our doctors. He ain't been with our nutritionists.
They didn't know what they was doing over there.
Bruh, that's it. They say that with players just on the court. They don't have anything to do with physicals, health, nothing like that. Like those types of phrases are uttered. Those types of things are said about our players. They don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, Sacramento.
There are people, there are people eyeballing Keegan Murray like that's Sacramento. Like he could be better than what he is. He could be better than what he is. But it's do you have him? Did you settle at bottom 5?
They
I still got Patrick Bailey's home run up. I need to close this tab. It just keeps rerunning on my screen.
Need one today.
Well,
but I would say I'll put it in order too.
Okay.
Phoenix, Chicago, the Kings, Utah. That's kind of where I'm not sure. Utah and the Kings. I'm not sure who's in a better situation. And New Orleans is where I think New Orleans in a worse spot than Charlotte.
I think if we run this conversation back next year, I'd be curious to see if we can mention this team. But what about Atlanta? Now, I thought Atlanta had a decent offseason. But also, I'm not going to go babyface on Atlanta. I'm just trying to be honest. Like I think they had a fine offseason. But when you're talking about direction, how is Atlanta not in this conversation?
Atlanta's got two. When you talk about their roster, they've got at least two guys that
you can move.
You feel good. Well, you feel good about either way, moving or having on your roster when you talk about Jalen Johnson and Trae Young.
Yeah, I feel like you can only feel good about moving them because you have them on your roster and you're 40 and 42.
Jalen, I'm not sure. I can look this up, or maybe Jesse's even quicker with it. But I think Jalen had gotten hurt for the year. He was playing at a really high level for about 40 games, and I think he got hurt for the year. So maybe you're selling yourself.
Your memory with injuries is sketchy. It's
he
the
was
only
19 points per game, 19 points per game, 10 rebounds, 5 assists in 40 games.
Do we have game?
He played 40 games for real?
36, excuse me.
That's
36.
close enough.
Yeah,
Count it.
No,
Count it.
I rounded
Count
up.
No.
If it's above 5, you round up.
See, Jesse, look, Jesse was helping you out.